Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 2 of the Greg and Arsh podcast.
Today we've got Kyle Yarwood, who's one of my best friends throughout university. Met him in first year. First day, I think. First day?
Yeah, it was during orientation.
Yeah, during orientation for sure. And he's like a really smart computer science guy that did 3 majors at the University of Waterloo. That's one of our questions. We'll talk about that later.
We're getting there. We're getting there, Kyle.
Okay. Arshia, question number 1.
All right. So, Kyle, you currently live in the States, but you didn't always live there. So how was life growing up in Whitby, Ontario?
It was pretty normal. Whenever I bring up that I'm from Whitby, people think it's like super rural area because I don't really speak super highly of it usually. But like whenever I go back now, I really enjoy my time there. Like it was a pretty normal town. Like there's a movie theater there. Like there's like grocery stores.
That
like
is
there's
normal.
stuff to do.
Very good. People there eat.
Yes. Yeah, you can like go to restaurants. You don't have to drive 20 minutes to get to a grocery store.
Right.
But yeah, just in general, like yeah, had friends on my block,
Friends are good.
like my neighbors.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was like a very normal childhood besides, well, my parents getting divorced, but that's like a whole different thing.
Okay.
But even then, that's pretty normal now. So
It's
yeah.
extremely common if you look at the statistics.
Yeah, it didn't change my life too much. Like both my parents stayed in Whitby, so yeah, not a lot of people know about the town, but like yeah, it's very normal childhood growing up, just like sort of boring, but yeah.
Awesome.
But you had a brother to keep you company.
Yes, I had a brother who is very, I'll say he's very funny and he's a very nice person. Like he is overly nice to the point where he got like 18 different coworkers a Christmas gift one year. And
Oh
in
my.
that same year, he got me, I think it was the year he got me a PS4. And I was like, I'm a student right now. I can't get you more than like a pair of socks.
Well, now you have to give him a
Meanwhile, you're good.
PS5, right?
Yeah.
He already has one.
Oh, never mind.
And he has the Xbox Series X. So
Really?
there's nothing I can get him. But yeah, he just buys whatever he wants.
Wow.
Fair enough. That's what money's for.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sorry, did you have something to say there?
I was just gonna say, yeah, like, it was nice having a brother growing up. I feel like being, no offense to only child, but like it's nice to have a built-in friend that you can do stuff with.
It definitely is.
I feel like it'd be a little bit more boring if you're an only child.
Yeah.
You get to play video games and stuff. With
So that's actually question number 2 was from what I know you've always been like a puzzly, brainy kind of dork.
I wouldn't call you that, Kyle.
I would agree.
It's only Greg saying that.
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Did you do any like puzzle games, video games, and we also threw in are you competitive as a bit of a loaded question?
Second question.
Yeah, I think from like a very early age, I liked puzzles and games and stuff. Like I played a lot of video games with my brother. Like he always got like, I think he had the GameCube. We had a Nintendo 64 growing up as well. When it comes to the competitive aspect, I remember when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my dad, maybe I was even 6 actually. My dad was teaching me chess and I was playing with him and I ended up losing the game, obviously, because I barely knew what I was doing. But like when I found out that I lost, I just like wiped all the pieces off the board. And then like 3 minutes later, I was like, "Can we play again?" And he's like, "No, you're just gonna wipe the pieces off the board again." I'm like, "I promise I won't do it." And then we played again, and I wiped the pieces off the board the second time as well.
How old were you?
Yeah, I was like 4 or 5 or 6 years old. Like I was very, very young. This is the first time I was ever like learning chess. But yeah, I think just in general, I have I didn't play any like competitive sports, like team sports or anything. So I didn't really learn how to lose gracefully. Um, so I think that's something that I still have to like work on. It's really hard when you don't get the experience of. I mean, like I definitely like, probably failed at stuff as a kid, but like I didn't really push myself, so it's hard to learn how to lose when you're older, when you've just like not really had a lot of experience with
Yeah.
that.
No, you're
Yeah.
reminding me a lot about, like you said that you didn't do competitive sports. When I did, a little bit older than that, like 10, 11, or maybe 13. In basketball,
Mhm.
they always do like you have to handshake like every single person, whether you win or
Yeah.
lose. And there's so many like strict rules on like if you're winning by like 10 points, you can't like shoot again because it's disgraceful and all
Hmm.
that stuff. I don't really agree with that. But
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
yeah,
But
either way, it's mostly just about teaching. I mean, in the NBA, it's about just being
yeah,
irritating. But young, it teaches you how to like just, yep, you lost, just pay your dues.
yeah. I think. Wait, so it's if you're leading by 10, you're not allowed to shoot. Is that
I made
the?
up the number 10, although I think double
Okay.
digits is a good number. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just dribble out the clock, which seems really disgraceful to me. You just literally sit there if you're
Yeah.
winning. But
Yeah.
Now, I think to teach those kids losing, like so the people who are losing by 10 need to learn how to lose by even more. So you should allow the people up by 10 to shoot,
There we go.
in my opinion.
fair
Yeah,
enough. Yeah, sounds good.
absolutely.
I think you need to be able to humiliate your opponents so that they learn
Yep.
lessons early on.
Yep.
But that's the competitive side of me. Yeah, I when I play my dad in NHL now, like we play hockey on my like really old PS3. We played over the holidays and I beat him like 8-0, 5-0, like 7-0. Like I humiliate my opponents in that
Sounds
game. And
familiar.
honestly, it gets to the point where I can see it on his face that he's just not having fun. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like if I just take it easy on you, I don't know.
I'm not sure if
Like
you have
I
that
feel
in
like
you.
it's kind of yeah. I don't think I could, but like it would also. I wouldn't want someone taking it easy on me, you know.
Yeah, no,
So
Yeah,
I
that
wouldn't
kind of
either.
ruins the fun of it, right? So,
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah. So I think just yeah, in general, I've grown up competitive, and I'm still like I like that I'm competitive, and I would like my future children to be competitive, but I think I would also like them to be a little bit more graceful in both winning and losing. I think I can also like get a bit like
Salty?
gloaty when I'm winning, all salty when I'm losing, gloaty when I'm winning. It really depends on who I'm with though. Like if I'm with people who I don't know very well, I won't be too bad. But if I know you really well, like you can tell if I feel comfortable around you if I'm like very salty about losing or if I'm like rubbing it in your face that I'm winning.
Yep,
Well, in my opinion, it takes a really big person to even admit and say that.
that's true.
So kudos to you for saying that and admitting
Thanks.
that.
I'm the most humble.
There we go. And you are. And I know you and you are. Absolutely.
I don't know about that, but yeah, it's just something I have to get better at. Like it's very obvious that I have to get better at it. So like it's just something I, I struggle with. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine.
That's all good. All right. So growing up, you also did YouTube. Do you want to talk more
Hmm.
about that? What made you want to do YouTube and what was that like?
Yeah. So I think when I was 9 years old for Christmas, I got this Discovery Kids camera or something, and I was like, well, I should start filming stuff with this because otherwise, what's the point of having the camera?
Why not?
Yeah, and when you film stuff, I don't know. It's like YouTube was like it would have been like 2009 when I got the camera. So I guess I would have actually been 10. Um, no, 9 because it was in like February when I would actually posted my first video. Uh, but yeah, I think I was just like YouTube was like starting to get pretty popular back then. Like I watched YouTube videos, so I figured why not post this and like see if anybody will view it and like comment on it. I think somebody said the only comments I can remember is them saying your camera, this potato, basically saying my camera was a potato.
Okay.
But yeah, people are I don't think I took offense to it because it was like whatever. Like,
Good.
yeah, my camera sucks, but like it's a Discovery Kids camera. I'm just having fun here.
Yeah.
But I think just in general, I liked having like a creative outlet, and that's actually something that's I kind of miss now because I don't really post on social media at all. It's like there's not a lot. Like I'm not really creating content anymore. But yeah, when I was younger, like I would just post the most random stuff. Like I'd get into a hobby, for example, like Rubik's cubes, and immediately when I would learn how to do it from a YouTube video, I'd go make my own YouTube video teaching how to solve the Rubik's cube.
That's how to
Even
do
though
it.
people could just go to the better
Yeah.
video.
No,
Absolutely.
that's what I do for YouTube like every day. So
And then there was like the tutorials on how to create a fake virus on your computer on Windows. So and they'd always have what was it 009 sound system playing in the background, that band or whatever that had like the free YouTube music. So I made my own tutorial with the exact same song and the exact same like you like open up Notepad and just like type what you want to say because the music was playing. Like you couldn't really record your voice over it. So yeah, I just like copied all my content.
nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like fun to post videos though, I think.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
with I mean, I've never heard of a Discovery Kids camera, but I can picture like a $20 terrible camera or something like that.
It was probably like yeah, $20-$30 back then. It would be like $2 now.
Yeah, okay. So did you like it still took video?
Yeah, it took video, but I think it only had like 60 to 90 seconds
Yeah, that's what I was
of
wondering. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, it was really like I ran out of space when I was recording a video for like how to get mystery gift in Pokemon.
Nice.
But well, I eventually like not too many videos in, I switched to using like a webcam on a computer because I mean the computer has a lot more space than a Discovery Kids camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that have sound though?
Yeah, the webcam like it was like a computer, like just like an HP laptop or like
Okay, yeah.
Toshiba. I can't remember exactly, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So would you like to like in the future create content again?
I have definitely been thinking about it a lot recently. I think the hard part for me, and I don't know, Greg, you can maybe comment on this, but I would have a very difficult time balancing like doing something that I really enjoy and just like not caring about the views versus like caring way too much about the metrics and like looking at oh how many views am I getting, how many subscribers am I getting, how much does this type of content actually reach people, like do people care about this. I feel like it's just really hard to not care about that stuff, and
Yeah,
I would probably want to just do it for fun, but I don't know.
yeah, I mean it's good. It's good to care about things in some ways. Like, of course, you want to bring purpose to your life and have something that you're kind of always thinking about. But it,
Mhm.
I think you're still, and that's kind of why Arshi and I are really excited to do this, is because, like, at the time of recording, we have like 10 subscribers or something, and I love it. Like, that makes me so
I'm one of
happy
them.
because,
Oh,
yeah,
very nice. Thank you.
I think it's 12. I think I
12.
was the
12.
12th subscriber.
and that's
Might be more now.
that's great for me because like I don't have to worry about if I put something out, like are people gonna love or hate it? Am I expecting something to go like viral on this channel? It would be great, but like I'm not expecting it to right away.
Yeah.
And so given that it's not a business, my own channel is not only my business, it's like my life. It's much easier to just record and do content, making it
Yeah.
just a hobby, and then it turns into something after a hobby. But it's nice at first.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I were to get into it, I would want to be like fairly consistent with it. The I'm also like, I mean, there's one topic that like really comes to mind when I think about making a YouTube channel because it's like pretty much all, well, most of what I what I do in my spare time. That's like look at fantasy hockey stuff. So doing something with hockey in general, I feel like there's always news in the hockey world or like games going on that you can recap and things like that. My only worry would be that it would go from something that I enjoy researching about and just like do for fun in my free time to something that I feel like I have to do. And yeah, I want to, I need to figure out a way to like balance that and make sure that I'm not going to get burnt out on hockey stuff if I do go down that path.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a fine line between that. So, this is my first channel and it's my first time being on camera. And that, like Greg said, I think it's good that we only have like 10 or 12 subscribers because it does not put any pressure
Yeah.
on, if
Yeah.
I mess up, it's okay and we're just gonna, roll with it. Um, and so it's fun, but definitely I also find myself kind of looking at the analytics and, did we go viral yet is my
Yeah, we
Yeah.
question,
looked at them.
right?
It was yesterday.
It was
I doubt
yesterday.
it went viral yet,
There we
but
go.
check back tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, but I think as long as you're having fun doing it, that's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you went to Waterloo with Greg and myself.
Mhm.
What made
Yes.
you choose Waterloo out of all of the schools?
Yeah. So I think I applied to three universities, all in like Ontario, Canada. And so the three options were I don't know why I chose those three options to begin with. I guess like actually I sort of do because they were the reasons that I was considering each of them. Like they were the same as the reasons that I was considering each of them when I had to make my decision. Um, but I applied to Trent, which I found out you get like free tuition if you get a certain average, and I was like, I would like to not have to pay tuition. That'd be really cool. Because that's like a big, but for certain people when they're going to university, like cost is like the biggest factor on whether or not like if you can't afford to go to the school, then it's like sometimes not a great decision, especially because there's like risk of like if you're even going to make it through the program and all that and be able to get the job you want from the and be able to pay back the loans. So yeah, I think the free tuition was really enticing from Trent, and the campus looked really pretty. And then the second option that I didn't go with was U of T Scarborough campus. So they had co-op, which obviously Waterloo does as well. So it was kind of nice to be able to like work while you're in school, like kind of alternate between studying and working. Um, and I think having a co-op system, as much as it's not necessary to get your jobs while you're in school, I think it really helps because you have the portal to actually find the jobs. And um, the second thing is you're like forced to get a job, which really pushes you into like if you don't get a job, then you like fail. You don't fail the work term, but like you can't study even during that work term. I know at Waterloo,
Yeah.
so there's just a lot of pressure for you to actually go through with it and get jobs.
Yeah.
So, and a nice thing about Scarborough that I really considered was it was near my house and like, well, relatively close to the point where it would take like 45 minutes to an hour at most to get to the campus. I could stay at home. Costs of like living would be a lot lower if I'm staying at home. Um, so that was a big reason why I just thought about going there. And then Waterloo was the third option. A big reason why I chose it was because it was like known for math, and that was initially what I applied for. Um, and I had done like all the Waterloo math contests as I was going through like elementary school in grade 7 and 8, and then high school like 9 through 12. I was doing all the Waterloo contests, so it was like top of mind when I was like, oh, I want to do math. Which school should I apply to? Um, And I think, yeah, also the co-op was really nice. Again, similar to Scarborough. And I actually didn't know this at the time, so this is more of a hindsight thing. But like Waterloo has the best co-op program that probably any school in the, I think you could argue, in the world has.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, in hindsight, I made like a really good decision because yeah, the co-op was very nice to have. But yeah, I think the difference between U of T Scarborough and Waterloo, and why I chose Waterloo, was as much as I could have stayed at home if I went to Scarborough, it was a really big step in my life to like get out of the house, move away from like your safety net and your parents, and instead go into a town where I don't really know anybody. Like I feel like that's just like a good life experience to have, and like you become more responsible when you're living on your own. So just in general, it was, yeah, the better co-op. And as much as it was going to be more expensive, the co-op was going to help with that. So that's kind of why I disregarded Trent. Um, yeah, I think just in general, like the math education at Waterloo was the best. The co-op was the best, and leaving home, I would have done that at either Trent or Waterloo, but Waterloo was further, so that was also the best choice in terms of like becoming a more responsible and more mature person.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And yeah, so I actually visited Trent during high school. I'm not sure why they were
Mhm.
doing like a
Where
like
is it again? Alberta?
Peter.
Peterborough.
Peterborough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did not know about the
yeah,
free tuition post past a certain average thing though.
yeah. I think it was like 95% or something. So that was like my goal. I was like, I'm gonna try to get that, and then, or maybe it was even 90%. I don't know. It was not like a crazy. I mean, 95 is crazy high, but like it was attainable if you like work really
Just worked
hard.
hard, yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah.
So if you
Whereas
had
like
90,
99
if
movies.
you had 95%, why didn't you consider MIT or Stanford or yada yada yada?
Honestly, it just never even crossed my mind to consider U.S. schools. And I also would have had, yeah, I think I would have had to do a lot more planning in terms of how I went about it. Like I know someone from my school was considering the American schools, so you have to like, study for the SAT and then take the SAT and like submit those scores and stuff. You have to go through a whole different um, process. Like I can't remember what it was, but it was like OUAC
Yes.
for applying to Ontario schools. So that was like, I don't know, everybody else was doing it, so it was very easy to just like do the same thing everybody else was doing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, for me,
and
sorry,
it's
go
more
ahead.
expensive.
Yeah,
Sorry, American schools are way more expensive,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
especially if
yeah.
you're coming from Canada.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's not
I had
worth
the
it.
same experience. No one mentioned it to me once, and
Mm,
I don't say I regret it because I think Waterloo is still the best option for many Canadians. It of course
yeah,
depends on what you want to study, but if you're doing something like math or engineering, it's a really good option.
Yep.
Um,
yeah, 100%.
yeah, but then like if you go to look at the world rankings, I mean, I'm pretty sure MIT is on top. I don't have to look, but
Yeah,
close
yeah.
to the top
I'm
if it's
pretty sure
not.
it's number one in like
Yeah,
math and
In math
engineering.
and
Yeah,
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 technology for
but
and Stanford.
yeah, no one ever talked about it to me. It's like it wasn't even a suggestion, and like I don't care. I'm not getting mad at anybody. It's just like it doesn't feel like it's in the Canadian culture to
Mhm.
do that. Even though there's like a couple people that did, but I just
Yeah,
because I'm saying this because like I'm sure we'll have a bit of a global audience at some point, and I feel like if you're not from North America, you generally kind of blend Canada and the US in really closely together.
yeah,
With, of course, the US having a bit of a like, we have a stronger economy kind of vibe, we have more people. But other than that, the cultures are like the
yeah,
same. But for university, it did not feel like it was even a discussion point. It was just like something in
yeah,
Canada.
yeah. I think just in general, like the cost specifically is like a big thing. Like everybody knows how bad the tuition is in the US in terms of like how costly it is,
Yes.
Yeah,
whereas like I feel like Canada is much more reasonable if
definitely.
you're a domestic student. If you're coming internationally, it's still like a crazy amount, but I think even then it's still less expensive than going to like Harvard or
Absolutely.
Yale or MIT.
Yeah, people there have like over 100K in student loan. I'm like, oh
That's
my.
insane.
Yeah. Yeah, like coming from Waterloo, like I mean, I just paid off the federal portion of my loan, and I could pay off the provincial part, but it's not collecting interest right now. So I'm like,
Wait,
why
could
not
you
just like,
choose? I
wait a
didn't
bit?
think you could choose what you take out.
There was like two different things on my like portal thing, and I was just like, I want to pay this one off.
Wait, which website?
The National
NSLSC?
Student
No.
Loan Service Center, yeah,
What? What is wrong with
NSLSC.
that? It was for me. It was just $1.
Oh, okay. Maybe you only had the one type of
No,
loans. I
no,
don't
no,
know.
no. I know it's both.
No, you have both. Okay, then yeah. Um,
That's weird. I'll have to
I
look
was
into
able
it.
to just. I actually paid too much because they hadn't processed my previous payment, but then they processed it after I made the one-time payment. So I'm
Nice.
like, they owe me like almost $200 in terms of that account. But
That's funny.
whatever.
Okay. What are we on here? Any? No, we did. Did we do hobbies? Any hobbies? Talk about your hobbies.
Uh, yeah. I think the main ones include fantasy hockey is like the number one, like pretty much year round besides the summer, and even then I'll be like looking into like who's gonna be the steal of the draft next year in my fantasy hockey league. Um, yeah, I think that just comes from like, being from Canada and my dad really liking hockey and like doing. He did fantasy hockey when I was a kid, like with his office. So one year he like asked me if I wanted to join. It was like the first year I was really getting into hockey, and I joined. And now it would feel really weird to even pay attention to hockey without doing fantasy hockey. Like they just feel so. They feel like one and the same to me at this point. So yeah, fantasy hockey is a big one. Um, I think yeah, I like playing Minesweeper a lot, which is pretty like dorky, but I don't know, just like whenever I'm bored, like if I'm watching a TV show, I'll have it like two windows. One of them's the TV show, one of them's Minesweeper, and I'll just be like
Yep.
casually playing Minesweeper at the
I
same
used to play
time.
that as a child a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I played as a 23-year-old.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah. And then yeah, I think I really enjoy like a lot of different forms of media, mostly like movies, TV shows, and music. It's just like a lot of alternative rock for music, a lot of dramas for TV shows. Yeah, I don't know. That's mostly what takes up my time. Oh, and I've been like getting into running. I'm not very good at it yet, but and like my knee is kind of bad, but I try to run as much as possible without destroying my knee.
Mine's worse.
Yeah,
Guarantee it.
Greg's currently
that
injured.
is true. Yeah,
We
but
actually.
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. I just like I would love to be able to run like for like 3 hours, but I can't. I just can't run that long with my
You'll
knee.
get there
Otherwise,
one
it starts to
day.
like really act up.
Well,
Yeah, I think it's just like slow progress.
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, as much as David Goggins is a massive inspiration and I love him, he also just did
Mhm.
things that literally injured him when it wasn't necessary. I feel like he would just go
Yeah,
way past the point of what's healthy and just do it
Yeah.
because he wanted to prove it and to. So there's
yeah,
no need to just run your knees out.
yeah. I think he talks about a lot of stuff. Like whenever I see a YouTube short or a TikTok of him, it's like very motivational. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I need to like prioritize my health over like going. Like I ran a 5K one day, and then the next day or that night, I saw a YouTube short that was like talking about how you need to be like an animal and by David Goggins. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I'm gonna go for a run tomorrow. And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, that's a really bad idea because the last time I ran 5K, I wasn't able to run for like 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should first see how bad my knees are in a couple of days, and then maybe if I need to take a bit of time off. But yeah, he's leading a totally different life, and I commend him for it. It's like really respectable that he's like able to show the limits of like what he like show that there are pretty much are no limits to what you can achieve. But yeah, I think I would like to not break all the bones in my feet.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Definitely would not recommend.
Okay, so back to university. Did university
Mhm.
feel easy? Was it easy?
Um, I don't think it was. I think it felt easier than it seemed like other people found it. Um, but in general, like there were definitely courses where I just like there were certain assignments, certain exams where I'm just like I have no idea what is going on. Like there's no way I'll ever be able to answer this problem. You could give me a million years
Yep.
and I would not be able to solve this problem. Um, so there were definitely like some nights where I think I had like three assignments due on one day, and I didn't start any of them until the night before. More accurately, about like 10 or 11 p.m., maybe even closer to midnight. And yeah, that whole night, I stayed up all night, and then I like kept working, even in like classes and stuff, the next day to try to get everything done. But it was just like it was way too much. Like there was this one course um, that just had like some really hard problems, and it was like he told us the assignments are going to be hard. Like, do not do these last minute. Try to get like a feel for them. I think it was like biweekly. So try to get a feel for them like when they come out, and like look at the questions, start to think about them, and that'll give you a better chance of being able to solve them. I was like, that's a really good piece of advice that I'm just not gonna follow. Uh,
Yep.
and yeah,
Been
I
there,
kind
done
of paid
that.
for it. But yeah, I think just in general, like I did, I think I expected university to be a bit harder, but it definitely wasn't easy. And I think also a thing that made it harder was having to apply for jobs like every study term. That first like month was just like a lot to deal with, and I think that there's a lot of stress um, that I just didn't realize I was going to have to deal with, uh, especially in first year, trying to get that first job. Like it was like 3 days before the end of the. I think it was already past exams, and it was like 3 days before the next term started. When you had to have, well, you didn't have to have a job right away. You could have it like a couple weeks in or whatever. But yeah, like I barely got my job before the term started. Like
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
just adds so much.
Definitely. I don't think high school prepares you for that, honestly. Like it didn't for me. I mean, it was a lot definitely to deal with, especially with interviews and brushing up your resume and cover
Yeah.
letters and all the good things, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Walk
Are you
us.
seeing the careers? Are you seeing the careers course? Careers and civics didn't prepare you.
Did you take
No,
that?
I
Yeah.
I
Okay.
did take it, and yeah, and no.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
walk us through how Waterloo does its like co-op rounds and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, the first couple terms you're just studying. But actually, well, it depends on what plan you're doing. But basically, the like 4 months. So Waterloo does like terms, which are 4 months. So there's three terms in a year. The term before the term that you're supposed to be working, um, pretty much immediately you start like applying to jobs through Waterloo's. I think it's Waterloo Works. They're like job portal. Um, so I think you get like what is it? 50, 100, 50
100,
applications that you get
Yeah,
to send
they
out.
changed that
50 or 100
fairly
something.
often. 50 or
Yeah,
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's yeah. I think I used all my applications every time,
Mhm.
Yep.
especially first year because you like. I also didn't realize how hard it was going to be to get a job in first year. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm doing pretty well in my classes. They'll care about that. No, they
They
really
don't.
don't.
No.
You're you have shown zero capability of being able to do like actual work. So it's hard to take a risk on somebody who they have no track record of. But yeah, so you apply to however many jobs, and they will see a package that has your transcript with your grades. I think that actually might be the last thing they see. The first thing they see, I believe, is the evaluations of your previous co-ops. So you can get anything from like it's like a 1 to 7 scale, but there's like words for it for each number. So like 7 is an outstanding, uh,
Outstanding,
8 is
excellent.
excellent, 9 is very 9, 8,
6 and 5, yeah.
6 and 5 are excellent, very good, then good, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, Typically, if if you're below a very good, which is a 5 out of 7, that's actually like really bad. Like if you are good,
Yeah.
you're very bad. Like that's a negative signal. Most people, I think it's like 95% of people get from 5 to 7. So very good, excellent, or outstanding. A lot of people get excellent, and then few people get outstanding, and that's because they have to like write a blurb about why you deserve outstanding. Um, and I feel like employers don't usually want to like have to write
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
it's
So
easier to just give it outstanding.
do you
Or
like
sorry, excellent.
do you like the rating scale? Do you think that that's a
I
fair
think
way
it's
to gauge
useless.
candidates? You don't like it?
I think it's useful to have like if it was accurate, I think it would be very useful to be able to gauge like, oh, the previous employer was happy with the person's work that they did the last term. But when you have a 7 point scale where it's pretty much only three of them are being used, like that kind of seems useless to me.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why one of the reasons like YouTube switched to like just thumbs up, thumbs down, because it's like so
Hmm.
much more like actually true. Like you'll know if you liked it or at least tolerated it, and you'll know if you hated
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I think yeah, and if they don't like or dislike it, then it's like somewhere in the middle. There's basically like three options for the
Yeah.
user. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think the ratings are incredibly inflated at Waterloo. I don't. It's rare to see like anything less than even an excellent. I feel like is almost like most people got like excellent
Yes.
in most of their co-op terms. But yeah, so yeah, you apply for your jobs, and then they get that package, and then you find out within like a couple of weeks whether you've been selected for an interview or not. And if you have, then you have to like go on and schedule from a selection of times when you want to do your interview. Um, I know Greg. I don't know if you actually ever had this problem. Greg had like 17 interviews one like co-op season, so to like it's very difficult to balance going to classes, doing assignments, attending
Yes.
midterms, and doing 17 interviews. Like it's
Interviews.
just it's not possible. I think you can like file for relief or whatever for some
Yes.
interviews. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a lot if you are getting selected for a lot of interviews. Usually, I didn't have that issue. It was I wasn't getting selected for enough, so I was able to handle the interviews fairly easily, except for maybe one term where I had like 8 because I went into continuous as like a third year. By the way, continuous is if you don't get a job within like the first month and a half or whatever, then there's like another round where it's like, okay, just have at like you can apply to way more jobs because they're like, we need to get these people jobs
Yeah.
because they weren't good enough in the first round.
Yeah. I definitely remember in walking around campus and everybody would be dressed up in their formal wear, and that's when you know it's like
Mhm.
interview
Yeah.
season and everybody I remember
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that definitely dies down. Well, you still see people doing it, but you can tell who's the first year and who's the
Yes.
fourth year by how they're dressed.
Yep.
Because it's like a fourth year will be dressed how I'm dressed, and a first year will be in like a suit and tie and a
Definitely.
jacket. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, uh, yeah, and then you just interview, and then if you do well in the interview, it's like a very well. It depends on. It's there's no like specific interview thing. It's basically whatever the interviewer wants to ask you. In the software jobs, they'll ask you very typical like software
Yep.
engineering like interview questions. But I'm sure it's different if you're applying for like pharmacy jobs or whatever. So yeah, and then you basically will get ranked from a number from 1 to 10. And there's like a period, I think it's like 24 hours where like you find out whether or not, if you're ranked 1, that means you got like an offer. If you're ranked 2 through 10, you don't actually get to know what you were ranked until, well, you don't ever get to know what you're ranked, but it means we're okay with having you if we don't get who we actually want from giving them an offer.
Yep.
So you can be, yeah, not ranked or offered. And then they have this like algorithm that will determine, like, based off of what you rank them from 1 to 10 and what they ranked you from 1 to 10, um, who gets the job based off of the candidates that interviewed. So yeah, typically, yeah. So sometimes if you get an offer, but you're ranked for a job that you want like way more, you can like reject the offer by like not ranking it, and then you can take your luck with trying to go like ranking the one that you got ranked for a 1, and that, or like, I guess it's like 1 out of 10. Like you're really, or first out of 10. Like 1 is good, 10 is bad.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, uh, I mean that obviously has like consequences. If you don't get the job, like then you'll just be out of a job, even though you had an offer, which
Yeah.
kind of sucks. But
Yeah, it depends on
if
like
you really
what.
want that job,
Yeah, it depends on what
yeah,
level of risk you're willing to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So did you enjoy all your co-ops?
Um, for the most part, yeah. I think the nice thing about co-op is that you get to like find out what you want to do with like minimal risk, because it's like 4 months that you're working for,
Yep.
and you can figure out pretty like within that 4 months whether or not you're going to enjoy it as a career or not. Yeah, my first co-op was as a data analyst, and then my next 5 were as software engineers. So the first one, I think the reason I didn't go back into data was, I think, just like the cleaning and like filtering data and all that was just like, I don't know, it wasn't super interesting to me. Um, I enjoyed the people that I worked with. Like it was is a lot of fun. Like my boss was really fun. Um, there were like some coworkers that I had a lot of fun with. Like I played chess with somebody at lunch every day. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I think just in general, I want I was like, I had just transferred into CS, so I was like, I kind of want to see what like software engineering is like, because that's like the like status quo career path for someone who goes into computer science. It's like, okay, you're in CS, you're going to be a software engineer.
Yep.
So I wanted to try that out, and I enjoyed it more than data. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. But that doesn't mean that I don't like data science. Like I, Greg knows, I'll like sometimes be working on like fantasy hockey problems where I'm trying to like predict things using data science to like do better in my fantasy hockey leagues, like get an edge over everybody else. So I think it really, when it comes to data science, I have to find the problem that I'm applying it to very interesting. And I think it's just, for me, I don't find that many things interesting. So it would be hard to find a job where I could just do like fantasy hockey stuff, which is kind of why I would want to like do a YouTube channel where I get to do it for fun and all that. But yeah, I think just in general, yeah, I enjoyed doing software engineering, which is why I'm a software engineer now. But yeah, um, yeah, I think I'll see where this goes. I think when I at a certain point in my career, I do want to switch career paths. I think I coming into university, I was actually very interested in teaching, just because really liked my teachers and thought they did a really good job in high school. And um, I think it, I think it's hard to find good teachers. So I think I would love to be able to bring like the passion that I have for math to high school and like see if I can either make people who are already interested in math more interested in it and like show them even cooler things than what you typically learn in high school, or take people who are not interested in math at all and try to like convince them that they actually do like math. They just don't realize it because you don't learn like what all of math is in high school. Like
Yeah.
there's just too much to go over. Like for example, game theory. Like people who are into like board games and stuff use game theory all the time, but they might hate like algebra, which is typical, or like calculus, which is really all you do in high school. So if I could expose them to different branches of math that would more align with their interests, I think that would be really cool. So I think that's something I want to do eventually in my career.
Oh, that's fantastic. Quick side note, did you ever take computer science in high school?
I did. I took it in grade 12. Like I took both grade 11 and grade 12. In grade 12, and yeah, I didn't really enjoy grade 11 computer science, but grade 12 started to get into the more like computer sciencey stuff, like the like algorithms and
Hmm.
like learning about how like divide and conquer stuff works, like
Yep.
binary search and merge
Really?
sort.
You did that in grade 12?
Yeah, I learned it.
Yeah, I don't think
Oh.
I don't know if it was part of the curriculum, like the standard curriculum for Ontario, but my teacher went over like a lot of really cool stuff. Like we also did like Tower of Hanoi and stuff. So
Yeah,
I
Oh.
think just in general,
I
my
did too.
teacher was really good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that your first exposure to programming?
Ye- Yeah, pretty much. There was like a point in grade 9 where I did like HTML for, like just for one random night, but I was like, this is really boring, and I don't ever want to do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
I've
look at
actually
me now.
I've been getting
I don't
back
do
into the
HTML.
HTML recently. It's not super fun, but it is really useful if you want to do like anything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You have to like understand how it works. Like especially if you want to make a website. Like, I mean, you can go through like you're not sponsored by Squarespace, are you? I could do an ad read,
No, we're
but
not. Not yet.
okay, not
Yeah.
yet. All right. Well, maybe this will get. But like, you could use Squarespace to make your
Hashtag
website instead of
not
having to deal
sponsored.
with HTML. Yeah, don't take this as an endorsement from the podcast, but you can use like websites to make your website rather than learning HTML.
I
Yeah.
I
find them
definitely agree
really
with that.
limiting. I've tried all of them, and it's like anytime, like I'll get to build up some things out of it, and then I just hit a point where it's like, this is just not flexible enough to do what I want, and then I have to go do it all by myself.
Yeah, yeah, I find that to be the case with a lot of things. Like, there's even like in terms of coding, like there. Sometimes I'll be doing like a leak code problem, and I'll be trying to use something from like Python standard library, and I'm like, this doesn't have like exactly what I want, so I have to code this from scratch. And it's really annoying,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
leak codes for practice, so that sounds just like better practice.
yeah, yeah. That's like it definitely gets you to think about data structures that you don't usually have to deal with. You know, like that. Yeah, that's just a whole other thing where I think leak code, as much as I enjoy it, you're not testing how, like it's not a good assessment of
It's
how they're
not.
going to be on the job. Like it's a completely different skill, and if you just get good at that one skill, you can get any job you want. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at it.
Yeah, and I think it's always evolving too. Like we just had Chat GPT come out, which really changes how
Mhm.
people are coding. Like it's getting so much more. You just like it's just problem solving, which is what leak code tests, but it tests very specific problem
Yeah.
solving. And it's more so. Honestly, I feel like it's just because so we were playing a lot of Stardew Valley, and we found out that the guy who coded that game, or it's literally just one guy that didn't know coding who coded the entire game, and it's like if you gave him a leet code question at the beginning, he'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
give someone 3 years of time and like 10 hours a day, and you get something astounding. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember exactly who it was or who they were applying to work for, but the company that they were applying to work for used the person's like open source software. So they interviewed at the place and they're like, all right, I need you to like invert this binary tree. And he's
Oh
like, I
my
don't know how to do
god.
that. So he didn't get the job, but it's like,
Oh.
you guys use my software all the time. Like,
Oh
you
man,
should be okay with hiring me. Like, clearly
That's-
I can write software.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
What is a triple major, and what were your majors? So is it all it? To me, it sounds really crazy, but I also know that it's not as hard as it sounds like it is.
Yeah. Basically, so my three majors were computer science, and this is a really long word, but well, two words, but combinatorics and optimization, and then computational mathematics. If those all sound like the same thing, they basically were, which is why it was so easy to get. Well, it wasn't like easy, but it was a lot easier than you'd think to get three majors with those. So I initially picked computer science and CNO, the combinatorics one, because there was like a decent amount of overlap. So I just like well, initially I was in math and I switched into CS because I wanted to be able to take the upper year CS courses because there's so many that are just like off limits to math students, which is really stupid, but it's because they filled the CS program way too much in the earlier years. And then, yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know why you can't take, like, just hire more teachers or something. I don't know. Like, you have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I switched into CS, but then I was like, I still want to do a bunch of math. So I'm also going to do C and O, which was like, it's like graph theory, and there's also game theory. Like, there's a lot of different things it covers. Um, but yeah, so I decided to double major in both of those. And then when I got to like the end of third year, I realized it was going to be like 2 or 3 more courses to get a third major if I like planned out exactly which ones I wanted correctly. So I did like 3 extra courses and got a third major, and it was way easier than I ever thought it should be to get 3 majors. But I mean, like usually to get one major, you have to take 40 courses, and there's like probably a lot of electives in there. But I basically was just like, I'm going to take the least amount of electives possible and make them math courses because I'm better at math than most electives anyway. So that got me like my second major within 40 courses, but then I just had to add on 3 more to get a third major. So it was just 3 more courses for 2 more majors, which was a pretty good deal. And now I have like an interesting story to tell people if they ever ask when I'm in like an interview or something. Like it's just very easy to be like, oh yeah, this is like how I got 3 majors and how it's not as impressive as it sounds.
There you
But
go.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so 3 majors, and does so is there like some sort of specialization like main thing, or is it like literally like you're as good at each of those 3 things? Because technically you were in CS, but
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that emphasizes that it was CS other than just the degree?
I mean, even my degree. So people in CS at Waterloo usually get bachelor's of CS
Yeah.
in CS. I got a bachelor's of math
Oh, you
in
did get that
CS,
one. Okay.
Oh,
CO,
okay.
CM. Yeah. So the only thing that signifies that I was like in CS is that it was listed first out of the
Right.
3 majors. I think it was just the order that I decided to declare them in. But yeah, it was like CS, CO, CM.
Yeah, and that you paid more tuition than in math.
Yeah, like yeah, it's yeah. I don't get me started. It's just
All right.
I don't know it. Yeah, it's stupid, but whatever. I think for me, I was really interested in the upper year CS courses and like really wanted to take them. And there was like specifically a course that I took that I ended up really enjoying that I would not have been able to take if I was just in math. So was it worth an extra was it worth twice the tuition, like paying double the amount? Um I don't know. I don't know where that money would have went elsewhere. Like I think OSAP like probably covered most of the twice like a doubled amount. So it was probably worth it. Although I still have to pay loans back. So I don't know.
Yeah, the loans feel really good when they're in your account, but then when you look at it on the site, it's just a whole different story.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily they have dwindled a lot since I decided to pay off the federal portion. So it went from like 26,000 down to like 6,000. So that feels pretty good.
So on that note, and you don't have to answer super specifically if you don't want to, but what kind of like investment strategy do you do?
I just keep it simple, stupid. For the most part, I just invest in. This is not financial advice, by the way, but the tried and true strategy is to pick an ETF that is tied to the S&P 500 and just invest most of your money into that, and it should go up over time by like I think adjusted for inflation like 8% a year or something. So that's just like typically what people suggest you do if you don't want to think about it at all. Or like it just like pretty much anything that captures a lot of the market is good. So that's mostly what I've done. I've invested in like a few individual stocks. It's looking really bad right now.
Yep.
But I think everything's looking bad right now. So it wasn't too much money that I put into that, so I'm not regretting it that much. But I'm also like, I think it was a good lesson to me because it's those things are more down than the S&P 500 is. So as much as I thought, oh, maybe I'm smarter than the people who just say to invest in the S&P 500, I realized I'm not, and I should just probably stick to their advice.
Yeah, I've realized that too.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting on that topic is that it is like 8% annually, but you can't keep that number in mind all the time because what I think about is like it's gone way down right now. So in the near future, or at least within the few years, you can expect way more than 8%. Like it'll be 8% from kind of what it was before. So like
I think in like 30 years, you should expect it to have averaged 8% every year.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. So just look at it if you're buying right now as like and like your let's say your stocks are going down. Well, now is the time to buy more because you're getting it at a discounted price.
Yep.
So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, I'm getting like a 20% discount, even though the rest of my money's also down 20%.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll just get depressed.
So, Kyle, you're in the States right now. What made you want to move there after you graduated?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in tech. So when I think of tech, and I think when anyone in the world thinks of tech, the first location that they think of is like San Francisco, Bay Area, Silicon Valley. So I think just in general, having a career in tech, like one of the things that I've kind of wanted to do ever since I realized I was going to be going into tech was spend some time in the Bay Area and like because I feel like it's almost like a rite of passage at that point. Like spend some like just go. Oh, sorry, did I cut out?
A little bit, yeah.
Just a bit, yeah.
Okay. I think it's also very similar to the reason that I chose to go to Waterloo, where I kind of left my hometown, like the nest, the safety net, whatever you want to call it, and went off to like experience new things and try to become more responsible. I think moving to like a whole new country, having to deal with visa stuff and like yeah, flying on my own to go back and forth between the countries whenever I want to visit home, like um, I think yeah, just in general is like a good opportunity to become sorry, more responsible and mature, um, and not like I think it just like pretty much cuts off any reliance you could possibly have on your parents at that point. Like you're very on your own when you move across the country and then down to another country. Um, and I think yeah, just I most of my coworkers work in Pacific time, so it's nice to work in Pacific time here.
Yeah.
Um, I think um, the weather is really nice, especially because I said I was getting into running. I think something that's difficult in Ontario is to run year round.
Yeah.
I realized that when I was getting into it back in Canada. So I figured why not come to a place where you can pretty much run at any point in the year. Um, so that's nice. And yeah, I completely forgot about this. It is lower down on my checklist than most people probably have it, but the compensation in the States is definitely a lot higher than it is in Toronto or like Ontario in general, or Canada in general. Which is kind of why you see like the brain drain that we have in Canada right now, where people are just like leaving in swaths
Yep.
because they don't get paid as much as you would in
Yep.
the US. And for a lot of people, like achieving financial independence is a really big goal for them, especially if you're someone who's educated and in STEM. Like it's just like you're like, okay, I want to like I have this great opportunity to make lots of money and not have to work well into my 60s. So why not do that? So I think just in general, yeah, being able to make more money is obviously nice. Yeah, and and it was nice because my job was that I ended up getting was remote, so I don't have to like I got to choose between Canada and going to San Francisco, and I was just like, yeah, like going to San Francisco. I think at this point in my life is the choice that makes sense. It's not that I never want to come back to Canada. Like I still have a very soft spot in my heart for Canada. Like no offense to Americans, but I do think Canada's the better country. Um, but yeah, like I feel like I also appreciate going home a lot more now when I
Yep.
come back from San Francisco. But I also really like coming back to San Francisco from Canada because I think there are just things that I enjoy of one place. Like Canada still feels like home to me. So when I go home, it feels like home. Um, and then when I come here, though, it's also like it also feels like a new chapter of my life, and I'm like continuing that when I come back. So yeah, there's like I think it's nice to, especially because my job is remote. I can like go home for a week, not have to take any vacation, and just work from Canada,
Yeah.
and then come back to San Francisco and work from here as like just go about my life as normal. So yeah, I like being able to go to both places.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah, so how is it like for a Canadian citizen to move to the States? Because I feel like again, kind of what I said earlier, a lot of people abroad think that you can just like walk over and then stay as long as you want. Is that true or
But you can't work.
No, yeah. Basically, from my understanding, when you're just coming as like someone who's traveling, you can only stay for I know it's a certain number of months.
6 months,
I
I
think they
think.
told me, yeah, I think they told me like you have to get out of here in 6 months when I just came when I was traveling. Um, I don't know if like once those 6 months are up, you just go back and then be like, okay, I want to
yeah,
come
that's what
back
I
for
was
another six
wondering.
Yeah.
months. I honestly don't know. Yeah, that'd be something interesting to look into. I have a friend who I could probably just like quickly ask, and he'll know the answer right away. You guys know where I am.
Oh, right,
He
right.
just knows laws about everything. Like
Mm,
it's
okay.
insane how much he knows. Like he's probably the most knowledgeable person I know. Um, but yeah, um, for the visa, basically, I mean, I think I got pretty. When I was looking for jobs, I was mostly looking for like companies that could sponsor me to do like for a visa if I wanted to go to the States. So I got pretty lucky that my workplace was able to sponsor me for. They initially got me a TN visa, which I think lasts 3 years, and it's for people who are like software engineers or like there are other professions as well. I don't remember which ones they are because I didn't need to know them. I think technically you had to be like either an engineer or computer systems analyst was another thing that you could come in as,
What
but
the
like
hell is that?
nobody knows what that means. It's like super outdated
Classic
term. I
government
don't know.
term.
I
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so um, yeah, I initially came over on the TN visa, and then I also got really lucky that they had like my workplace, like they work with some like law firm that deals with visa stuff, and they had entered me into like the H-1B
Yep.
lottery, and I got selected like the first time, and there's only like a 35% chance that you get selected every year. I also started work like a month before they did the lottery, which was really nice because it meant like, oh, a month in, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm gonna have an H-1B visa. Um, so yeah, then it like took a like there was kind of some like annoying paperwork to get the visa and stuff. For example, they needed my degree, but I graduated like I finished school in December, but I didn't graduate until June. But I
Yeah.
was working in March, and they needed the degree. But I was like, well, I don't have the degree yet because I haven't technically conferred. Like I finished my requirements for my degree, and I'm going to graduate, but I haven't technically graduated yet. So there was just like some annoying stuff we had to do for that. Um, but yeah, and then like I had to quickly interview at the border for the TN visa initially. Took like I don't know, probably half an hour at most, and most of it was just sitting like waiting for the guy to go through my stuff. Um, but yeah, that wasn't too bad. And then the H-1B was even quicker. Like I just went up and they were like, they give you like some receipt thing, and then you like when you like they ship it to you, and then when you're returning from Canada, uh, you just show them the receipt, and they're like, okay, yeah, you have this visa. And you're like, okay, and then they just let you through. It was like literally like 60 seconds max, so that was really nice. But yeah, just in general, like there's like some annoying paperwork that you're gonna have to do if you're getting a visa to work here. Um, I think mine is still valid for another like 3 years, and then I would have to get it renewed. I also need to probably like you can once you get the H-1B, you can start applying for a green card, which I know at this point can take like forever. But then once you get the green card, I think you just wait 5 more years and you can apply for your citizenship or whatever. So yeah, there's still some stuff I have to figure out for all that, but that's basically kind of what the process that I've gone through at this point.
Yeah, wow. That's definitely a lot. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
glad you have it all worked out.
And
Yeah, I'm. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, where are you storing your physical copies in case I needed a visa?
Um, I,
What physical
I
copy?
mean, it's probably like in my backpack
Just
or something,
documents.
but uh, I don't know if I have like all the paperwork that I needed to for the initial package to go over the to go over the U.S. on my TN visa. Um, and they only sent a physical copy, which is kind of annoying. I wish they sent digital copies, but yeah, I have no idea how much harder. I'm assuming it'd be much more annoying if you didn't have like sponsorship for the visa. I was very grateful that they were
So,
able to just like
what does
put
that
together a
exactly
package.
mean? Does sponsorship mean they pay for you, or it just means a certain like government level security term?
I think they pay for they pay for some of the stuff. I know I still had to pay like $50 or something to like enter the first time. Um, but in general, they just like uh, I'm not like 100% sure. I know one thing they did for me is put together like the whole application package, which
Okay.
is like it was like a bunch of pages, like a bunch of probably very few for most lawyers. It's probably like 30 or something,
Yeah.
but it felt like a lot, and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't have to do this myself.
Yeah.
So I think just in general, they like help you through the process a lot. Like they did most of the work for that. Um, and they also give you like instructions on what you have to do. Like, oh, when you arrive, you have to like go to this portal thing, like upload these documents and all this. So that was one thing that they helped out a lot with. I'm not sure how it would be different otherwise. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not super sure if there's anything else that's different if you don't get sponsorship. I would probably have to look into it.
Yeah.
But
Ask,
yeah.
ask number 9. It's a funny question.
So, question number 9 is written by Greg and not me. It says, "Do you feel smart?"
um, I think I think if I like take a step back and look at it objectively, I feel like I'm if you consider smart to be like someone who is above average in like intelligence or like ability to solve problems and all that, I'd probably consider myself smart. There are definitely things where I lack aptitude for it and I don't have a lot of hard work when I'm not naturally skilled in certain things. So,
Like what?
for example, like pretty much any other subject that's not math or computer science in school, like I just geography, I just didn't care about like history. I didn't care about. I think just in general, I don't have a lot of knowledge in those areas. Um, I think I'm fairly good at like reasoning through decisions, even though I'm a very indecisive person. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's really hard to say that I'm not smart, but I also do think there are things that I'm just like very bad at. Like, yeah, I don't know. I would say I'm smart. Like, yeah,
And I ask everybody this. Do you feel the imposter syndrome? Or have you ever felt the imposter syndrome?
I definitely have. I It's hard to tell because sometimes you can like I've had times where I convince myself like to have imposter syndrome, you have to feel like an imposter but not be an imposter. And sometimes you're just like so sure that you're an imposter that you don't actually have imposter syndrome. You're just really bad at something. So it's something, yeah. I think there are certain things where there's certain times where I feel like an imposter, but like I feel so sure of it that I'm like, I don't have imposter syndrome. I'm just bad at this. So, um, yeah. Um, then there are other times where I look back on it and I think to myself, like, how much did they really expect? Like, for example, like my first co-op or whatever, like it took me a bit longer to do some of the stuff that I would have liked. And then I look back at it and I'm like, I had zero job experience. Like, I don't think his expectations were that high for what I was doing. And I think looking back on it, I actually did like a pretty decent job at what I was asked to do. So like, I think it's hard to say, but hindsight is definitely 2020 when it comes to those types of issues. So, do I have imposter syndrome now? You're gonna have to ask me in 3 years if I had imposter syndrome now.
Okay.
But I've definitely had it in the past for sure.
Yeah. All right. And where do you see yourself in the next 20 years? I know it's a very like interview type question. I don't mean it in
Yeah.
that sense, but yeah.
No, I think it's honestly something that I like think about. I'm like, what do I want to really be doing in 20 years? So in 20 years, I'm going to be 43 years old.
Damn.
Um,
That's old.
I
That is
want to
so
be,
old.
yeah, I know. You guys are going to be 43 too.
I
That's true.
know, that is so old.
Um, but yeah, at 43, I would like to be married, have kids. And I think a big reason why I brought up that I would like to be like get into teaching is I think it seems like for me, I would like to be able to spend a lot of time with my children. And being a teacher, I feel like getting the summers off is like really nice. Like
Mm.
Yep.
I honestly think by the time I'm 43, I would want to be a teacher. Like I'd want to switch career paths by then. Just because, yeah, you get to spend so much more time with your children, and I mean, you only get to see them grow up once, so yeah, it would be really nice. Like, I also think just being a teacher in general would be a lot of fun. Like, I'd love to be the fun, cool teacher
Okay.
that is like, pretty chill. Like, I definitely had some of those, and like one of my favorite teachers. I doubt he's listening to this. There's like a 0% chance. But Mr. Gillespie, um, from my high school, he was one of the coolest teachers. But like you knew to like he wasn't one of those teachers that you just like push around. Like he wasn't a pushover. Like like people respected him because like I don't know. He respected the students, so it was easy to respect him back and like not try to get on any like bad side that he could have. Like he was a very fair teacher, but he was also very cool and like he's able to connect with students. Like he got to the point like he knew what different students were interested in. So like in a lesson, he'd like even bring it back to like one of the students' interests and try to make like connect with them more. Like sometimes he'd bring up hockey stuff and like be talking directly to me in a lesson. Or I know one person really liked Seinfeld, so he would like talk about them or talk to them about Seinfeld, and it's like during the lesson, like kind of tie it in. I just feel like being able to do that, those little things would be like really fun for me, and like yeah, I think it would just be really cool to like make people more passionate about um, stuff that I am interested in, like math. Um, so yeah, being like working in that in 20 years would be really cool. And yeah, being married, having kids, like I feel like those are just like good life experiences, especially having kids. Like I know a lot of people don't want kids anymore, but I would love to have kids. Like it would just be so much fun to see them grow up and like become independent people and adults.
Yeah, so on the teaching note, I have
Hmm.
so obviously I really like it, like doing YouTube,
Yeah.
especially obviously in like an educational based thing. But I feel like even regardless of the channel, you're still kind of always teaching people something, whether it's even just playing a video game and just showing how to do it the best way or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
and for me, I think it's really interesting because there's a huge balance between like, obviously if you're like a high school teacher, there's a bit of a pay cut for what you would be at right now.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
and for I mean it's around like the median salary or something like that. Um,
Hmm.
and then there's also something like YouTube, where is essentially $0 an hour for the first year, and
Hmm.
possibly $1 million a year in 5, 10 years, and limitless
Yeah.
possibilities in terms of the companies. Like Mr. Beast right now, he has like 3 actual companies and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so how do you feel like striking those different balances? Like, do you think that you could be like a professor where you do make more money, you talk to an even bigger audience, like high school's like 30 kids on average, a
Hmm.
professor's like maybe 100, 250, depending on the class, or like YouTube where it's like if you have the audience, you're literally talking to 1 million people live.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think the reason, or one of the reasons that I like software engineering, at least is like the first half of my career, um, is because like obviously is like it'll set you up financially if
Yep.
you like invest right and all that. So by the time I like go into teaching, and the reason I didn't go into teaching right away is because I would like to just be at the point where if I wanted to retire, I could retire, and at that point, the money is like not the goal for me, or it's not one of the goals. Because yeah, I want to get to the point where I just don't really have to think about money at all. Like, because I don't know, I don't like money. I just like not having to think about money.
Hmm.
So that's why I would like to have a lot of money so that I don't have to think about the lots of money that I have and just like spend it on life experiences and like sorry, not have to think of like, oh, he's like taking my kids out to eat on this Sunday night, going to break the bank. Like, no, like just go out, have fun. Don't even really pay attention to the bill. Like, what are they going to get? Chicken fingers? Like, it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna bankrupt me. I'm not gonna sell the house. So, um, and the reason high school would be like appealing to me versus talking to a lot of people on YouTube or talking to a lot of people in a lecture hall where you can reach more people is I feel like um, I really like the like teaching to smaller people, like at least the idea of it where you can like sort of tailor your content more specifically to people, like how my teacher would like make references to what things he knew we were interested in. Um, I think when especially with the YouTube, it's hard to do that because you're like talking to a void, and that void has lots of people in it, but you can't connect with them
Yep.
as you can with a smaller class size. And even with um, as a professor, if you have 150 to 200 people, it probably just looks like a lot of like blank faces just
Yeah.
staring at you. So I think in general, like being able to connect with the students at a deeper level and like really focus on each student more is probably something I'd be a little bit more passionate about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to hear that perspective because for me, like, I love teaching, but the one thing I just won't allow myself to do is something that makes me feel limited. And I would just not,
Mhm.
I couldn't help but feel limited if I were to do something like a
Yeah.
job like that where there's just no obvious, like I just always need a what's next, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I wanted to hear what you thought about that.
Yeah, I think that what's next is like a human trait in any
Mhm.
way. Like, I'm asking myself
Yeah.
right now what's next, and I don't see that changing personally.
Mm.
So,
Well, you have the question sheet right there, so you should see what's
what's
next.
next?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a question we've already asked, and also, actually, I guess we already went past that. So yeah, the last one, if we're ready for the last question.
We are ready for the last question.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Arshia, fire away.
All right. Is there anything that you'd like to let the people know, whatever you're up to, or just something about you?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like at the moment I don't have a YouTube channel to shout out or anything. Don't really use social media, so I can't be like go follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Um, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else? I feel like I covered a lot. I feel like it's been going for a while, but sorry about that.
Oh, no,
Um,
no, no. We
Oh, it's
we
great.
yeah, we're loving this.
yeah. Um, in terms of what I want the people to know, um, I guess I don't know. I think something that doesn't really sink in until you're like a bit older is like, this is more for like younger people, but just like when I'm the direction I'm going is like about like family and like appreciating your family and like staying connected with your family, especially while they're around, because there's only so many years. Like life is short. Like the first year in university, I just like didn't talk to my parents pretty much. Like it was like every couple months I'd call them, and they'd like call me every however often. And one thing that I've started to do more with over the last couple of years is like call both my parents regularly, like at the very least once a week, usually like 3 or 4 times a week.
Really?
That's very nice.
Yeah, just because like I don't know, I like my parents, first of all, so like I like talking to them. But yeah, I've read something or saw something like a statistic where it was like you spend 90% of the time you're going to spend with your parents by the time you move out. So
Yeah.
you only have 10% of the time left. It's like, you know, I definitely have like started to prioritize like family and friends more. Like I as much as, you know, having a nice career and all that's nice, and like making lots of money, like at the end of the day, like that money is meaningless if you don't have like family and friends that you can like have experiences with. Like that's the point of the money, is to be like, yeah, I think just in general, just like, yeah, enjoy the time that you have with your family and friends, because as long as you have enough money to make ends meet, like uh, not more money isn't going to make you that much more happy. I mean, the reason I would want more money is so I could, you know, retire earlier and spend more time with my family. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting because it's also very culture based, because I wasn't surprised at all to hear that, you know, you only called your parents like every few months or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, there's definitely people in like Canadian culture that talk to their parents a lot more than that. But it also didn't really surprise me that much. But Arshia like talks to her family like really, really commonly.
But yeah, no, I really like that point of view, and this was very wholesome episode, and I love that.
Yeah, it ended wholesome, eh?
Yes. So thank you for that, Kyle.
I'm the most wholesome person.
There we go.
I guess so. Most humble,
Not
most
true.
wholesome,
Most humble, most wholesome.
There we go.
Actually, like, quick last question: have you measured your IQ?
No, I've taken the online tests that are like,
isn't it somewhat accurate?
no.
I don't like
They're
those
like,
tests.
what word doesn't fit? Rat, bat, and cow. It's like,
Oh, well, it wasn't one of the, like the puzzle spatially ones.
I've done like the practice Mensa one,
Yeah,
but it's like, it's just stupid.
I
I
like
think
them, yeah.
for that one I got like, it was like 130 something,
yeah, there we go.
like 135 or something. But like, yeah, I mean, I took the gifted test when I was younger, and I think to be gifted, it's like 130 and up.
Okay.
And I mean, I was in the gifted program, but also your IQ when you're a kid is different than when you're an adult. So I haven't taken any like actual IQ tests. You can also like practice for them. So like,
Yeah,
they're
that's
just
the one
useless.
that's weird to me. I've
Yeah.
done it a few times and done better over time.
Yeah, like you can improve your IQ. I don't think you can really like, yeah, the tests are just, I think IQ in general, there is some measure of IQ out there that is good, but I don't think we've found it yet. Like I don't think there's anything that can really encapsulate how intelligent someone is.
We'll need someone with a really high IQ to come up with the test for that.
Yeah, that's not me. maybe you can figure it out with your machine learning.
No, I'm right in the middle of that bell curve.
All right. I doubt it, but
no,
anybody who went to Waterloo is
no, anyone
is
from
up
Waterloo
there.
is just resilient. Like you just have to fight through it. There's going to be mental and like possibly physical battles, and you just have to tolerate it for such a long time.
What physical battle did you go through?
Oh, me in particular, not necessarily.
The freshman 15.
Oh right,
well,
freshman.
Actually, Greg purposefully put on that muscle.
Right.
I do have a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, in Ottawa, you did.
True. Yeah, you guys.
You had a lot of water weight.
You should check out, what was that? I don't know what my Instagram was called, but there's a nice video of me somewhere where I'm lifting like 75 or whatever it was pounds on top of a pull-up, which is pretty solid.
Just crazy. Literally like a 200 pound. Actually, back then it would have been like 220, 225 pound person.
Yeah.
Like doing a pull-up. but you're obviously like 140 something at the time, maybe
Yep.
150.
No, I've never been 150.
Oh, I thought you were inching close to that when you had all the water weight.
I think when I had a bunch of water, I was at like 143, and then it was like never that much again.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for giving us your
Yeah, thank you.
time and your insights. We loved speaking to you, and we'd love to have you back on the show.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys ever want me back, maybe I can interview you guys next.
Ooh.
Yeah, after you become a teacher, we'll have you. Not until then.
Oh, it's gonna be a
No, we'll
while.
definitely have you before that. All right.
Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel.
True.
Yes, you
Actually, that's
should.
true. Yeah, then we'll plug in the links still. Like when it comes out, we'll put it in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was an interview with Kyle Yarwood. The next one will be an interview with YouTuber Kyle Yarwood.
Oh. the YouTuber.
The YouTuber.
The Kyle. Okay.
I
guess we're calling it then.
Yes, we're calling it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Kyle, so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.